So it's very easy if you ever call up your credit card company and you say, hey, I lost my credit card or I see unknown transactions. Within 2 seconds, that money is like back into your account and they go through the process. In what you basically do is if you have that happen with rent, you have Visa or MasterCard or Amex, someone over
Yeah.
there who knows nothing about tenant landlord law, deciding whether or not the tenant is in the right.
Alrighty, folks, we're going to talk about Dana Dunford from Hen Lane going the extra mile for you and your tenants. How many of your tenants have asked you and thought about paying with credit cards? Maybe they want rewards points. Maybe they want travel points. But you, of course, know that they can dispute them. And you are like, you know what? There's a company called Built Rewards that just got valued at $3 billion. And Dana Dunford and Hen Lane have already signed paperwork so you can partner with them and see what's possible. Dana, you move so fast. It's amazing.
It's so fun, I have to say, to stay on top of all the innovation happening in fintech. And this is probably one of the biggest ones because I think a lot of other credit card companies will follow suit. This
Mhm.
is probably one of the biggest innovations that you will see in the space. And so I want to go through that, how it impacts you, benefits, all of that. But let me start with credit cards and why I'm so opposed to tenants paying rent with credit cards. So you have to think of the benefits of paying your rent with credit cards. It builds up your credit score,
Mhm.
you know, or for a tenant. So for a tenant, um, no, the largest payment typically they have every month is their rent. However, that's not built into their credit score. And so the benefit of paying something with a credit card is obviously it builds up that credit score for them.
Mhm.
But we've all been so opposed to having credit card, having tenants pay rent through a credit card, and there's various reasons for that. For first, for the tenant, there's additional fees. There's usually a 3% convenience fee. Somebody has to pay that, and so that's not great for them. Then if they miss their credit card payment, there's huge interest rates, not great for the tenant. And then for the landlord, there's a lot of questions because the first question is, why are they paying with their credit card? Do they not have the cash in their bank account? Will this end up in an eviction? Should
Mhm.
I be, figuring out a longer term solution and some sort of early lease termination because I don't want an eviction,
Yep.
obviously. So there's
Yep.
that goes into it. And then the other risk that you see for landlords is disputes.
Yeah.
And so it's very easy if you ever call up your credit card company and you say, hey, I lost my credit card or I see unknown transactions. Within 2 seconds, that money is like back into your account and they go through the process. In what you basically do is if you have that happen with rent, you have Visa or MasterCard or Amex, someone over
Yeah.
there who knows nothing about tenant landlord law, deciding whether or not the tenant is in the right. And so, from our perspective, when you go through the Hemlane experience to set up rent collection,
Mhm.
we have the box that does not check allow the tenant to pay rent with a credit card. We just do not check that box.
Yeah.
And if you do, oh,
My
go for it.
experience, my experience is the same way. I mean, I've been asked, I don't know, seemingly every year for years if I would allow tenants to pay with credit cards. And the answer to date has been hell no.
No,
No
yeah,
thanks. Not no.
and
Hell no.
hell no. So yes, that's exactly it. And we right in there in this terrible red font. It's almost like a designer would not want this in the system, but we do it intentionally so you have to read it and it gives you a really negative reaction that says there are huge risks with accepting credit card. Please read all of this about it. And so we've been very opposed to it.
Mm.
So, what basically happened? We started seeing in our support center tenants reaching out saying, hey, can we pay rent with our built credit card? And we were like, why do we keep hearing about this thing
Mm.
called built? So we
Yeah.
looked it up.
Okay.
And sure enough, it is a company that is focused on credit cards specific for tenants to pay their rent, zero transaction fees, and they get to earn travel rewards.
So I just want to make sure I heard that correctly. It's a purpose-built credit card, meaning they can only use it for rent. Is that right?
No, they can use it for anything else. They can use it for other things, but
Okay.
the rent they also can get rewards points on if they
Okay.
use certain providers to pay their rent.
Okay.
And so that was interesting to us. And but I still had the same reservations for all the landlords out there of what
Hmm.
about disputes? What about
Yeah.
all of this other stuff that goes into it?
Hmm.
So we got connected, thanks to some of our investors over at Prudence. We got connected to the Built team to learn a little bit more, and
Okay.
just went really hard on them of all of the negative things associated with paying with credit cards. What is interesting is because they are the credit card company, and they know that landlords do not want to uh, accept credit card because they're the ones that help with the disputes. They've actually taken the opposite approach of most credit card companies, where they are on the landlord side with the disputes of saying, hey, if it's
Mm.
paid for rent, it's not like your Uber or your dinner out. We are going to be siding with them. And that's actually how they grew. So they are, a $3 billion valued company.
Ooh.
That's their latest valuation. What is interesting about it, if you think about it and look at it, it's like, well, how did they get so big? They're actually signing with the large operators. So all of these large operators out there, they're signing and saying, great, pay your rent to any of these large institutional investors with Built integrated into their platforms. And
Hmm.
they're siding with the large providers, also with the Hemlanes of the world, to say, you know what, we'll make this a value add to you as well, and give you that assurance that you're not going to have these crazy disputes.
All right. Let me kind of unpack that and make sure I heard it
Yeah.
correctly. So on the tenant side, they're allowing the tenants to pay for a bill and earn rewards points that they normally pay for, right? They're paying their rent, they're
Mm-hmm.
getting some rewards points, assuming they use the right provider. I got it. They have removed the 3% VIG to do that, right? The payment or to send with the credit card. Now, on the landlord side, what I hear you saying is um, they're going to support the landlord, right? They're going to ask, like, if there is a dispute, they're probably they're going to default at going to the landlord. They're going to probably ask for a lease or something to prove that it's
Mm-hmm.
valid. But when in
Yep.
doubt, the landlord's right, is what I think you're telling me.
That's 100%. And so that is how they're getting these large owner operators to jump on the platform, or to partner with them, and the Hemlings of the world, which is a good value proposition because now tenants can pay with the Built
Yeah.
MasterCard. And the landlords have that assurance that if we go back to the two things that you're worried about, one is disputes,
Yep.
and the second is, hey, if the tenant has to use a credit card and they're willing to pay a 3% convenience fee or whatever that convenience fee is, they're
Right.
probably behind. Now, if they're paying with their credit card, it's like, no, this is just smart. They
Yeah.
don't have
It's
any
reward points.
convenience
Yeah.
fees on Hemlane and they get reward points. Of course, they're going to pay with their credit card. And they also get credit reported to the
Mhm.
bureaus automatically because of their credit score. And so, what I think is happening here, and what is going to be very interesting to follow and track, is two things. One, I think this is how they acquire customers. I don't think Built is giving like free rewards with no transaction fees for anything other than saying, if we can get people early enough in their career to use
Mhm.
our credit card over any other, they will stay with us long term. I think that is probably part of the play there. I
Oh
don't
yeah.
know. I haven't asked their team, but that's most likely what I'm thinking there. The other interesting thing I think about it is, how do other credit card companies and providers follow suit? Because
Hmm.
this is the largest transaction for, roughly 40% of the nation. And so, will other credit card companies start to do
Yeah.
something like this and
It,
jump on the bandwagon?
it's also a consistent charge, right? Once a month,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is interesting. You know, so I get why Built would do this, right? They have found a gap in the credit card or convenience economy. That's really where we are, right? The convenience economy. They have
Yep.
found a way to kind of address both the tenant and the landlord, and kind of address both sides, remove some of the risk, some of the friction. Um, it does it. And you're right. I think they're capturing the market, right? If you go, right, the
Mhm.
average tenants skew younger, right? Again, home ownership is typically skews older. So getting into the game early. Also, if they're going to the big operators, I'm just trying to play this out in my head. If they're going to the big operators, they're also going to skew to class A versus class C,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It's such a,
Class
yep.
A,
Yep.
yeah, class A buildings typically, dual incomes, higher, incomes to rent ratios, all of that. Probably less risk, but also more credit card savvy, right? They do credit card churning and credit card points, and it
Mhm.
kind of feels like a genius move, frankly.
Yeah. I mean, that's why they got that valuation. They were founded in 2015 and it was announced, about just under, I think, a month ago that they were valued at $3 billion. And everyone said,
Wow.
where did this company come from? And it's that niche, and it's interesting because it's our space. It's what, from
Yeah.
a landlord perspective, you're most interested in, because one thing also about the advantages for landlords is if you want to increase retention and tell tenants stay for another year, you get to earn rewards points here. All of this additional stuff, because you're offering a platform like Hemlane that has partnered with Built, like all of that just helps with this retention that you want with tenants, because they can earn points. They're not
Mhm.
using, their standard bank account for this. They're using their Built Rewards card. So it's interesting. I thought it was a really cool innovation in the space. We definitely need more innovation
For
in
sure.
real estate. There's always balances because, of course, with any new product or offering, there's skepticism. And I was, for sure, when I saw this, I said, this is the stupidest thing when I first
What
saw
are
it.
they doing?
And what are they doing? And I had a whole list of like my questions of, what about disputes, what about transaction fees, everything. And yeah, it's after speaking with them, I do wonder how many other credit card companies will follow suit here.
Well, my random guess looking at the other credit card providers is they won't even look at this for a couple of years.
Mhm.
Because it's really
Yeah.
not in there. It's not current income or revenue or charges that they have, so they're not really losing anything. It'll be years before they wake up and smell the coffee. Is just my random guess. Um,
Yeah.
there's just big elephants that don't move very fast. But I am curious. You told me offline that you have signed partnership paperwork, which is very
Mhm.
cool. When can the audience, if they're using Hemlane, see that checkbox or whatever it's going to be in the application? I'm assuming that's coming soon, maybe?
Yeah, we're going to be announcing the partnership officially. We've signed paperwork. It will be official next week or the week after, and definitely something we are going to be promoting out to existing tenants, because that's retention for you, to say, hey, go ahead and use now. You can apply for this card and use it. You can earn your travel points, etc. They don't need to. But the benefit, obviously, to our users is then they get the retention, because the tenant is not going to want to move off of paying rent from there.
I am curious. You have this great resources tab at hemlane.com. Is there a document or maybe an FAQ that is or will be there soon that maybe a landlord can go look at if they wanted to get more details on Built?
Yeah, there's two. So under our support center, which is support.hemley.com, you can type in Built Rewards and see how you can pay rent today, because it's already in there
Oh,
with
wow.
the Built Rewards card. And then under the resources tab, that hasn't been announced, but we'll put the official announcement out there on the blog.
Folks, Hemlane is investing. They're trying to tackle real problems. They saw an opportunity. They did it. If you haven't taken advantage of the trial, right, hemlane.com, go there for your
Yeah.
14-day trial, practice being a landlord. Any closing thoughts?
I'm just excited to keep the innovation going. So in the comments here on this YouTube, if any of you have experience with Built, go ahead and put it
Ooh,
in there. We'd love to hear from you and your tenants on your experience. So definitely put comments in the chat here.
awesome. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thanks so much.